Let's move on. Patrick Surtain is in play. And here's what Sean Payton is now saying and how he is. The deal has to be right. And for Patrick Surtain to be dealt, the Eagles have The Eagles have reached out to the availability of Patrick Surtain. They're not the only team that have reached out for his availability. And here's why. Sean Payton came out today in a press conference and said, we need a quarterback. I think this is all going to come down to how much do they love any of the quarterbacks outside of Caleb Williams and outside of Jaden Daniels. Now, Jay goes, it's fake news. Hey, Jay, is it fake news that the 49ers and Eagles contacted Denver 3 days before the trade deadline? Is that fake news? Here, let's take a look at it. NBC, Denver, did this along with NBC Philly. Not me. Here, NBC Sports. Confirmed. Both Eagles and Niners calling Broncos at trade deadline for Patrick Surtain. That's not fake news. NBC Sports. Pro Football Talk. It's not fake news. What's fake news? Mike Florio? NBC Sports? The Broncos themselves? What's fake news? Look at these guys. We move on from them. Last time we addressed them. Sean Payton has to be blown away with a deal. It's not rumorville. It was confirmed, guy, prior to the trade deadline. The 49, Howie Roseman freaking said it himself. My God. Hey, Prince, you know it happened. Here's how I think you can make this work. Okay. I think it's got to be a 3-team deal. Okay? I think it's got to be a 3-team deal here. Sills, who are the other teams in play for Surtain? I know the Niners are still, the Eagles are, and I believe Seattle is the other team that's involved with trying to make a trade for him. I think Arizona would like to, but because they have multiple picks in a first round this year. Here's how I think this has to happen. If it is going to be with Philly, this is what I would do. I'd give the 22nd pick in A.J. Brown to New England for that third pick. I would send the third pick to Denver for Patrick Surtain and a second rounder. Or a first next year. That's the only way that works. Because to me, they need a quarterback. He said, but I think again, he's got to be in love. And I don't think he is in love. Dave, here's the thing though. I don't think he's in love with these guys. Okay? I don't think you now remember something. Hey, somebody help me here. What was the deal that Snead was traded to Tennessee? Was it a 2 and 5? I think that's fair. Okay? I think that's fair. Dual. It's steep because it's a steep position and player, and he's get this. Here's why it makes sense. He's still on a rookie deal. They just picked his fifth-year option up. So you have 2 years at this. 6.4 and then 15.4. You don't have to pay the player until 3 years. And guess what happens then? Bradbury and Slay's money's off the books. And you can maneuver the money around. You got $28 million invested in 2 corners right now. Okay? If you brought Surtain in, he'd only be making $6.4 million this year. Dude, these wide receivers are traded. Hey, let me ask you this. Are corners traded in their prime at 26? Are corners traded in their prime? Every single $20 million wide receiver except Devontae Smith has been on 2 or 3 teams before the age of 27. If they're so valuable, why are they moved so much? Snead for a 6th? Think about that. A 2 and a 6. So again, Denver wants, and get this, Denver's sitting at 12. You're looking at Bo Nix or Michael Penix there. I don't know that shakes the room for them. Do you actually believe that Sean Payton is going to win with Michael Penix or Bo Nix? I mean, so Philly sends 22 and Brown to New England for the 3rd pick. You send that pick to Denver for Patrick Surtain, and you want a 2nd rounder or a 1st rounder next year or a 2nd rounder this year. And you get the deal done, and he's on a rookie contract still for 3 years. It's economically feasible, and it's a position that you need to upgrade and would make your Then you go into the draft, and you draft a linebacker, and you get another edge rusher. And before you know it, you start putting pieces on your defense that make sense. You're not winning a Super Bowl or going to a Super Bowl with that defense and your offense currently constructed the way it is. You're a one-sided football team. I think that's a great deal for the Eagles. Are you really going to trust Howie Roseman drafting a corner when he's never? He's never drafted a corner in his life. Actually, I don't know of any Pro Bowlers he's ever drafted on defense. Like who? He's in play, but again, it has to be Denver. He said it today, and so did Denver. Anything is in play right now. We need a quarterback. The only asset you have. Patrick Surtain doesn't do anything for you. Like New England. Here, figure this out, Barb. New England had the 7th best defense, and they still won 4 games. If they go into September with the current quarterback room that they have right now, they'll win 4 games with Patrick Surtain. What's the point? What's the point? What's the point? doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. They're not going to draft one guy in that draft that will have the impact. None. Why would Denver give up Surtain? Will somebody tell them why they would give up Surtain? It's not that hard, dude. Somebody tell him who the starting quarterback right now is in Denver. Will somebody tell Mike who the starting quarterback in Denver is? For a guy that's making $25 million a year, he makes $25 million a year to fix the problems that they messed up with Russell Wilson, and now he's been asked to come in and fix. Jarrett Stidham is the starting quarterback in Denver. You asked the question, why would they get rid of Patrick Surtain? Well, you're not going anywhere with Patrick Surtain and anywhere with Jarrett Stidham as your starting quarterback. I don't think it can be any clearer. Can it? Jarrett Stidham? Jarrett Stidham. Mike can't figure that out. Jarrett Stidham. Okay? Sills, I would love to get Surtain, but can't see all the pieces lining up. If Denver loves May, I don't know. That's the key to me, too. Bob, that's the key right there, too. I don't really think that he loves him that much to do that. I personally do not. Okay? Stidham versus Mahomes, the quarterback. Okay, I don't see that he's like looks at Drake May and goes, wow. I do not see that. That he loves that. And by the way, again, the quarterbacks that are going to go. Jaden Daniels is going 2. Caleb's going 1. Denver most likely will stand pat. But again, are you really going to draft Bo Nix in the first round, pay first-round money for a quarterback that you know is not good enough? Why would you do that and waste that pick? I'd rather draft Brock Bowers if he's there at 12. I'd rather draft Brock Bowers. Sills, would you trade AJ no matter what for another first-rounder this year? No. By the way, it's preposterous that the guys at WIP are suggesting that Marvin Harrison Jr. And I can't believe Hugh Douglas is even in that conversation. A guy who's a legitimate 3,000-yard guy in the last 2 years, you're going to take a guy who played against Iowa, Indiana, Northwestern, and Michigan State and say that guy is going to be a better football player than A.J. Brown at 26? With all of his bullshit, not happening. Not happening. Now, the only thing that I like about that deal is because it would be a rookie contract. However, to circle back, that means you have to take a $38 million cap hit. No, thank you. I'll stay where I'm at. I am not taking a wide receiver, trading AJ in for a wideout. What would I do that for? I'm already paying the guy and I got a cap hit I got to deal with. Not working. Now, you give me Patrick Surtain and I get a draft pick back, a first or a second this year. Now we're talking. I mean, now we're talking about a player who I can plug in and And by the way, Surtain was drafted by Vic Fangio. He was drafted by your current defensive coordinator. He was his last first-round pick. This is the guy the Dallas Cowboys coveted. And personally, sorry, 304, Surtain's a better player than Micah Parsons. He's a better player. He's at a more needed position. Corners in the NFL, passing game versus an edge rusher. If I'm going to pay somebody $25 million or $20 million, I'm paying a corner, not an edge rusher. Not an edge rusher. I mean, Twiz, think about it. That guy helps you the next 10 years. AJ, so let me get this right. You guys, let's just spitball here. So if you don't win the Super Bowl this year, you would have paid almost $80 million for AJ Brown. What's the point? In bankrupting your defense for a wide receiver you got nothing in return for except his own personal gratification. It's frustrating. I hear guys like Bill go, why would you trade your best player? Ask Jimmy Johnson that. Ask Jimmy Johnson that. Ask the Green Bay Packers that. Ask the Kansas City Chiefs that. Keeping people on your team for numbers doesn't result in the most important thing, Super Bowls. The last 2 years that A.J. Brown has been on the Philadelphia Eagle team has all resulted in personal bests. 1 year was really good for the team. The second year, the more, don't you see it, the more you throw the ball to him, the more yards he gets, the less games you win. And the less Jalen develops. Tell me you see this. Oh, I know. Well, let me ask you this. Wasn't Shane Steichen and Jonathan Gannon also first-year coordinators? Weren't they also first-year coordinators? Since we have Fangio, we should get a good DB, correct? William, why don't you get his DB? That's an all-pro. The 22nd pick for Surtain is not going to cut it. They're going to want a player. Brown, the 22nd pick, and I want Surtain and a high 2 or a 1 the following year. And we're in. Let me just put it to you this way. If you guys traded for Patrick Surtain, Xander, do you agree with this? If you traded away, AJ, the 22nd pick, and you got restitution back in a 1 or 2, and you got Surtain back, he'd be better. If he was in this draft, he'd be the number 1 overall player taken, knowing what you know now. You couldn't draft a better player. Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Marvin Harrison. There's no player in that draft that's in that guy's league. Kyle goes, that's not a good deal. Kyle wants that guy to go, and get this, you're going to win a Super Bowl with lockdown corners. Ask the Chiefs. You're not going to win a Super Bowl with a high-powered wide receiver. That's if you also believe in your quarterback. Who would be our number 2 wide receiver? Get him in the second round. It's a very deep. You got two. How many second rounders you have? You have two of them. Could even parlay those things up if you get the other two that I want from Denver into maybe trading back into the first round with somebody down at the bottom down here like Buffalo. Buffalo needs wideouts too. A rookie as the number 2 wide receiver. Why aren't you confident in your quarterback? Surely your quarterback can cover that. Oh, I can't wait to get to this next topic. They're probably staying put, senor. So it would probably not be Buffalo because they're going to get on them rookie contracts too. Probably Detroit, though. You could get in there at 29. They've got 2 wideouts they're pretty happy about. Get the kid from Kansas City or the kid from Florida State. Maybe Andy would trade with you. They're at 32. Okay? hey, I don't know, man. Master Chief. It's a backhanded slap with a comment. Story of my life. Hey, that's a story of my life right there, Master Chief. Denver should accumulate picks for next season with our 22 and future picks. Prince, I think personally, do I think that Surtain deal can happen? I don't think he's in love with the guys. Bo Nix and Michael Penix are where he's at now at 12. I think if he was going to pick a guy, it'd be Penix. Okay? It would be Penix. Hey, that's a good call. Miller, does Denver have... Denver might not have a second-round pick because they had to give up all those picks for Russell Wilson. And also I know they had to give up a first-rounder for Sean Payton to New Orleans. But see, here's the thing, though, about Sean Payton. How many years do you think Denver's going to pay him $25 million to turn that thing around? I'm with you, Prince. I don't like any of them. The only quarterback that I think looks good enough would be Jaden Daniels. Okay? Seals, for conversation, what would Sean Payton give up for Hurts? That 12th pick in future. If Jalen Hurts was on the open market right now, he'd get a 1. For sure. He would. Just by the body of work he's been involved in. Okay? It's wise to accumulate more picks. That's why I'm saying, no, Prince. If you want to give me, if I move A.J. Brown and I could get Patrick Surtain and I could get a 2 this year on top of Surtain or a 1 next year, that means I'd have 2 number 1s next year. Tell you what, you got a lot of guys coming up on that defense like Bradbury and Slay that you have to replace. And God knows you're probably going to move off of Josh Sweat next year as well. You trust Hurts without Brown. That's the biggest dilemma. That's also another consideration. Do you think that Jalen Hurts can move the sticks? Do you think that he can move the sticks without A.J. Brown? I don't know. It's another great conversation. Denver has no second pick. Hey, Dave, do they have a third pick, man? 3rd round to give up AJ and a 22? 3rd round? Man, that seems to be, if I'm Denver, not enough. I'd want more than that. Dave, if I'm Denver, listen, he's a coveted player now. It's not just the Eagles that are inquiring about him. Everybody knows in the league right now. Look, do I think the Philadelphia Eagles aren't the only team contacting the Denver Broncos on his availability? Just like you know what's crazy when I say something like this? Watch this. How many people believe that only the New England Patriots have called Philadelphia for the availability of A.J. Brown? How many people believe that? A 1, 3, and a 5? And A.J.? Too deep. If I'm the Eagles, I'm not doing that. Bills are calling? Out of the conference too, right, senor? Out of the conference too, right? Get them out of the conference? Probably. I don't know that. Well, how many people believe that multiple teams are contacting the Broncos for Surtain when they know the quarterback is a need in Denver? Use your common sense. Twiz goes like this. Howie said no. Howie never says no. Howie doesn't say no. If you never say no to improve your team. Nobody on the planet is untradeable except the guy 15 in Kansas City. That's it. It's like trying to trade for LeBron in his prime or Jordan in his prime. There's certain guys that are untradeable. You don't have a guy on your football team that's untradeable. Nor do the Cowboys. Nor do the Jets. There's very few teams that have guys on it that are untradeable. Anybody's trade. Dude, so get this. Forte goes like this. Mulata's untradeable. Really? Well, I'll tell you what, if I gave you a 1 and a 2 for Jordan Mulata, I think Howie'd listen. General managers don't shut down trades. They table them. Don't you guys understand how general managers don't go, no, that'll never happen? No, that's a media comment. Anytime you see a media person go, the Eagles said he's not available, that is not true. Maybe on April 19th he's not. Here, let me give you the greatest drafter and talent evaluator of all time as a head coach, Jimmy Johnson, and his comments. And even Bill Belichick says this because he learned it from Jimmy. You are in the land of lies right now. The last 12 hours before the draft is when reality hits. And you've got to put your chips and your chess pieces and your checker pieces on the board. You're in the land of lies right now. So when you hear media people going, I'll never trade. Not the case. There you go, Big Pickin'. It's rat poison time. Okay? Why in the world Chiefs trading Mahomes when he's won back-to-back Super Bowl MVPs? Here, I'll tell you, Forte brings a great... Brian, how about this one? Forte brings up a comment there. Chiefs trading Montana. Or Chiefs trading Mahomes. Doesn't that look stupid? Doesn't that look stupid? Well, in that 30 for 30, Bill Walsh, the agent for John Elway and for, what was his name? In that 30 for 30, Elway to Marino. It was a great, great show. Joe Montana had just won his second Super Bowl. Elway came up in the draft. And Denver had called the Niners. John's from the Bay Area. Dad coached at Stanford. Here, I'm going to, watch this. Bill Walsh was going to trade Joe Montana after winning 2 Super Bowls to Denver for the rights to John Elway. Marvin Demoff, thank you, Kyle. Marvin Demoff, his agent, said this. And at the last second, Bill Walsh went like this. Look at this. Slager says it's wrong. Go watch the doc. How many people watched that documentary and heard Marvin Demoff say he was going to trade Joe Montana to Denver for John Elway's rights? And at the last second, he pulled back. He had just won 2 Super Bowls. And Walsh at the last second said, I think Montana still got more Super Bowls. And he was right to stick with Joe. See how you got people in here calling me a liar on that? I'm here to help you. That's a fact. Would the Chiefs ever trade Patrick Mahomes? Anybody's tradable. Even the great Joe Montana in his prime. I mean, okay, so I got it. Barry retired because of trade with San Francisco. That was, hey, I'm just saying, anybody in the league is tradable for the right deal. See, those players are assets. This has nothing to do with skill. No, but it becomes value, Bob. It's about value. Okay? It's like, look at here. AJ's a high volume player. I'm not handing him away. I'd trade Devontae Smith before I do that. I'm not handing that guy, even with all the bullshit we deal with him. And his moaning and his crying. I'm not giving A.J. Brown away unless it's a player that can help my football. A.J. Brown's not going to help you win a Super Bowl. Patrick Surtain is. Why is that? Because no matter how many yards he gets, no matter how many catches he gets, it hasn't resulted in 2 years. You actually went backwards last year. Tell me something this. If the coordinating was so awful, why did A.J. Brown have a career year? Why did Devontae Smith have a career year? Why did DeAndre Swift have a career year? How come every skill set guy in your offensive huddle had a career year except the quarterback? Why is that? Because the defense sucked. That's why Patrick Surtain helps you. And A.J. Brown doesn't. Exactly. You are, dude, so Brian Johnson, the coordinator that gets all the heat for, gave every single position player on your football team a career individual year, and it resulted in a 1-7 finish. How can that be possible? How can that be possible? By the way, that's, again, not an opinion. Devontae career year. Smith career year. Swift career year. Mulata career year. You just got an extension because of it. How in the world is that on Brian Johnson for delivering career? Do you realize that Brian Johnson is partly responsible for the contract extension Devontae Smith just got? How's that possible? and he was the problem? Maybe it was your defense and your quarterback, and you were reliant on one guy. How about that? Or is that too much again for all of you that are watching this, working with me? Is that too difficult to take? I mean, couldn't have been that awful. Couldn't have been that awful. What he said, Junior, right? It was simple offense that became predictable. Okay. It was an offense, Prince, that became predictable because you had two targets. That's going to change. So let me, hey, Prince, let's do this. So when A.J. Brown is going to be told that he is not going to get the targets that he had in the last 2 years, how much do you think him kicking his feet up right now a little bit, some of you could think it's a nothing burger. Well, how about this? Prince, figure this out. Do you think targets are going to be taken away from him because of the acquisition and signing of Saquon Barkley? Do you think he gets less targets? And they're going to try to spread it around more. Do you think Barkley, you're paying him $10 million. You're going to try to get him involved in the game plan, are you not? Right? Okay. That's less targets. That's less money in his eyes. You just paid a receiver, albeit you're not paying him for 3 years, but he's got a $96 million deal. You're not just not going to feed him. How do you think he'll act? Not getting his allotment of food. Look at how he's acting now. No, they spread the ball when they spread the ball when they got him that. So you think AJ's going to be okay with that? With a couple games, maybe he has only 4 targets. They'll be fine? This guy's in the offseason acting like an asshole. For no reason. Wait till the end season comes when he has a goose egg up there one game with no throws to him or 2 throws to him. You wait. When when Devontae Smith has 142 yards and Saquon, hey, let me ask you this one. Hey, Prince, how about this one? You think A.J. Brown would be okay with this kind of game? Eagles win 31-10 versus the Cowboys. Devontae Smith has 10 catches for 138 yards. Barkley goes for 18 carries from 95 yards, 7 catches for 60. And A.J. Brown has 4 catches for 38 yards. You think he is okay with that? You think he'll be okay with that? Melvin goes, who cares? He does. 304. Still pissed off at Mozzie Smith. I hope Philly drafts Jeremiah Trotter Jr. He stinks. I remember AJ bitching when we won 38-7 in 22. No, that's every diva receiver. Yeah. Right. All the high money guys, right? Hey, Prince, Prince says something right there. Xander, if we could put Prince's up here, this last one, that's a good one. I like it. I like that one. No, that's every diva receiver they have to make an impact in the game for them to feel fulfilled. Devontae Adams, Tyreek Hill, A.J. Brown, Stephon Diggs, and Justin Jefferson. All have this in common. Big contract guys with no future in Super Bowls. What's the point? What's the point? Yeah. What's the point? If anyone should be Sills, I guarantee when AJ does not get his targets, he's going to throw his helmet. He's throwing his helmet now in a way. Can you imagine? Get this. Can I here? You're AJ Brown. You make $25 million a year. You're an elite wide receiver. And you saw a guy just get money for $25 million bucks, but you know the kid's not getting the money, Devontae Smith, for 3 years. New England Patriots called the Eagles up. They call the Eagles up. The agent and the player get wind of it. You should take that as a merit badge, not as something sinister like the Eagles are doing something behind his back. People inquire about great players all the time. You don't think, hey, 304, you don't think that there's teams out there knowing full well you're not signing a quarterback for $60 million and a wide receiver for 30 and an edge rusher for 30. One of those guys is out. Teams are calling about one of those three guys. You know, it wouldn't shock me if the Buffalo Bills and the New England Patriots have contacted the Dallas Cowboys in the pursuit of CeeDee Lamb. Would it? If you're calling for AJ, why wouldn't you call for a guy's contract that's up? But, hey, it's no indictment on CeeDee Lamb. Good players. People ask about availability. I don't know. I mean, do you really know how the league works? AJ Brown, here, I'll make a prediction to you. Maniac, I'll make a prediction to you. AJ Brown, no, hey, I'm not saying that salary cap hit is not okay. No, AJ Brown, he's okay. I like the question. AJ Brown contract details, 2024 cap hit 43. Wow. How will the Eagles absorb? You would have to do exactly how they signed. Who was that DB slagger that the Eagles signed? Kevin Byard. You remember Kevin Byard had a pretty big cap hit when he was at Tennessee. There was a restructuring of his contract to bring that number down. Do you remember that? Hey, Barb, do you guys remember that? They restructured that so that the cap hit wouldn't be as high so that they could move him. As a matter of fact, that move helped the Eagles move off him by just cutting him. Okay? They would have to extend him probably before they moved him. Hey, or when you trade him, I think you'd have to, you're right, Prince. I think you would have to fix that before you moved them. Because that's what they did on Kevin Byard's deal. I think they acquired it, restructured it. So the Broncos, and then I think it had less money on the Eagle hit, and that's why they were able to move off him. Melvin Gilmore goes, he's not going anywhere. Why are teams calling for him? What would make you think that the Philadelphia Eagle wide receiver was available? Do you think they're calling Kansas City up? How about this? Get this. Here's Melvin. How many people believe that north of 20 teams, Sandra, you too, how many people believe that north of 20 teams have called the Minnesota Vikings in the availability of Justin Jefferson?